They desire you, but they are afraid. They miss you, but they do not know if you will receive them. They want to reach out, but they are terrified of what your silence might mean. This is the inner conflict that has been growing inside them for a long time. Yesterday, that conflict reached a point where it could no longer be ignored. For months, or perhaps even longer, this person has been trying to convince themselves that distance was the right choice. They told themselves that enough time had passed. They tried to focus on other things. They buried themselves in work, responsibilities, distractions, and daily routines. Yet none of those things removed the connection. They only covered it temporarily. Yesterday, something forced them to stop running. Perhaps it happened during a quiet moment. Perhaps it happened late at night, when the world became silent and there was nobody around to distract them. Or perhaps it happened in the middle of a normal day, when a simple memory suddenly appeared without warning. Whatever triggered it, the result was the same. The emotions they had been holding back came rushing to the surface all at once. That is why the energy felt so intense. That is why you could not ignore what you felt. There are moments when emotional energy becomes so concentrated that it breaks through every barrier. Yesterday was one of those moments. This person was forced to face truths they had been avoiding. They realized that time has continued moving forward. They realized that life has changed. Most importantly, they realized that you are changing too. That realization shook them deeply, because while they were trying to maintain control, something inside them began noticing signs that you were no longer waiting in the same way. Your energy felt different. Your focus felt different. Even if you did nothing dramatic, even if you simply started investing more energy into yourself, they felt it. The soul notices changes long before the mind understands them. And yesterday, they felt a shift. For the first time, the possibility of truly losing you stopped being an abstract idea. It became real. That realization brought fear. Not the fear of being alone for one evening, not the fear of temporary discomfort. A deeper fear. The fear of recognizing the value of someone after creating distance from them. The fear of understanding what they had while wondering if it can ever be recovered. That is the weight they are carrying now. This is why their thoughts have become repetitive. Your name appears in their mind unexpectedly. Memories replay without invitation. Conversations from the past return with astonishing clarity. Small details they thought they had forgotten suddenly become vivid again. The sound of your voice, the way you laughed, the comfort of your presence, the unique feeling of being understood. These memories are not appearing by accident. They are surfacing because the emotional walls are weakening. When a person finally stops resisting what they feel, everything they pushed away begins returning. And that is exactly what is happening. Yesterday, they could no longer maintain the illusion that they had completely moved on. The evidence was everywhere inside them. No matter where they looked, they found reminders. No matter what they focused on, your presence seemed to appear between the spaces of their thoughts. This created frustration. It created confusion. It created emotional exhaustion. Because the harder they tried to escape the feelings, the stronger the feelings became. Many people believe that suppressing emotions makes them disappear. The truth is often the opposite. What is suppressed grows in silence. What is avoided gains strength in the shadows. Eventually, the pressure becomes too great. Eventually, the emotions demand attention. Yesterday, that demand became impossible to ignore. That is why this person is experiencing such a powerful emotional reaction. They are not simply remembering you, they are confronting themselves. They are confronting the choices they made. They are confronting the opportunities that were lost. They are confronting the possibility that pride, fear, uncertainty, or hesitation may have cost them something precious. These realizations are not easy. They create a storm inside the heart. And storms always seek release. This is why you may continue feeling unusual sensations in the coming days. Moments of unexpected emotion, sudden memories, strange dreams, an unexplained urge to check your phone. These experiences can happen when emotional energy reaches a peak. The connection between two people who shared something meaningful does not simply disappear because communication stops. Silence changes many things. Distance changes many things. But certain emotional impressions remain alive much longer than people expect. Yesterday, this person felt those impressions with extraordinary force. For them, it was as if every unresolved feeling suddenly demanded attention at the same time. There was nowhere to hide. No distraction was powerful enough. No activity was interesting enough. No conversation was satisfying enough. Everything felt incomplete. Everything felt slightly empty. Because at the center of their emotional experience stood one undeniable truth. They still care. And caring creates vulnerability. That vulnerability is what they have been trying to avoid. Yet yesterday, it found them anyway. It arrived without permission. It arrived without warning. And once it arrived, it refused to leave. Now they are standing at an emotional crossroads. One path asks them to continue pretending, to continue suppressing, to continue acting as though nothing matters. The other path asks them to be honest, to acknowledge what they feel, to admit what they have been carrying inside. That decision is creating tremendous pressure, because honesty requires courage, and courage becomes difficult when there is uncertainty. They do not know what your reaction would be. They do not know how much has changed. They do not know whether they still have a place in your life. Those questions circle endlessly through their mind, again and again, hour after hour, creating a cycle of hope and fear. One moment they imagine reconnecting. The next moment they imagine rejection. One moment they feel inspired to reach out. The next moment, doubt convinces them to remain silent. This emotional back and forth is exhausting. It drains their energy. It keeps them awake. It makes concentration difficult. And it forces them to confront feelings they thought they had already escaped. That is why yesterday was so significant. It was not simply another day. It was a turning point, an emotional threshold, a moment when something hidden finally demanded recognition. The truth is that the human heart can tolerate many things. It can tolerate distance. It can tolerate uncertainty. It can tolerate silence. But eventually, it becomes tired of carrying unspoken emotions. Eventually, it seeks resolution. That desire for resolution is growing stronger inside this person now. Whether they admit it openly or not, they are searching for clarity. They are searching for peace. They are searching for relief from the emotional weight they have been carrying. And the more they search, the more they are forced to acknowledge where those feelings lead. They lead back to you. Not because you are perfect, not because life is simple, but because certain connections leave marks on the soul that cannot easily be erased. Yesterday, those marks became impossible for them to ignore. The memories became louder. The emotions became stronger. The reality became clearer. And now they find themselves facing a truth they have tried to avoid for a very long time. The truth that your absence has affected them far more deeply than they ever wanted to admit. The truth that moving forward has not been as easy as they pretended. The truth that what they feel still exists. And as these realizations continue unfolding, the pressure inside them continues growing. Because once the heart finally recognizes the truth, it becomes very difficult to return to denial. The walls may still stand for a little while longer. The silence may continue for now. The hesitation may remain. But something important has already changed. Something awakened yesterday. Something broke through the defenses. Something reminded them of what truly matters. And that awakening is still unfolding right now. They want to talk to you, but the fear of rejection keeps them frozen. Every time they think about reaching out, another voice inside them warns them about what could happen. They imagine being ignored. They imagine discovering that too much time has passed. They imagine finding out that your heart has already moved somewhere they can no longer follow. This fear creates a powerful emotional conflict. One part of them wants to close the distance. Another part wants to protect itself from possible disappointment. As these two forces collide inside them, they generate an enormous amount of emotional energy. That energy has direction, and whether they realize it or not, much of it is directed toward you. This is why your intuition may have become unusually active. This is why memories may have surfaced unexpectedly. This is why their presence may have felt strangely close, despite the physical distance between you. Their mind has been working overtime, trying to escape these emotions. They have searched for distractions. They have tried to stay busy. They have immersed themselves in routines and responsibilities. They have attempted to replace thinking with activity. Yet none of it has worked completely. Feelings do not disappear simply because they are ignored. Emotions have a way of returning. They wait patiently beneath the surface, and when the pressure becomes too great, they rise again. Yesterday, that pressure reached a breaking point. Everything they had been trying to suppress began pushing its way into awareness. The floodgates opened. The emotions became impossible to control. The memories became impossible to silence. And suddenly, they were forced to acknowledge something they had spent a long time avoiding. You still matter to them. Not in a small way, not as a passing memory, but as someone whose absence continues to affect their emotional world. That realization frightened them. Because once a person recognizes the depth of what they feel, they can no longer pretend those feelings do not exist. They realize that your impact on their life remains alive. Your influence remains present. Your memory remains powerful. And for someone who has been trying to maintain emotional distance, that realization can feel overwhelming. The fear that followed was not only about missing you, it was also about regret. The fear of realizing a mistake after time has already passed. The fear of wondering whether a bridge can still be rebuilt. The fear of questioning decisions that once seemed certain. These emotions created a reaction that extended beyond the mind. The body became involved. When emotions become intense enough, they begin expressing themselves physically. The body often reveals what the mind is trying to hide, and that is exactly what happened. Yesterday, they may have noticed an unusual heaviness in their chest, a feeling they could not easily explain. Not a physical injury, not an illness, just a sensation of pressure. A sensation of carrying something unspoken. A sensation that seemed to follow them wherever they went. This kind of emotional weight often appears when feelings have remained trapped for too long. Every conversation never spoken, every message never sent, every truth never expressed. All of it accumulates. Eventually, the burden becomes difficult to carry. Yesterday, they felt that burden more strongly than ever. There may have been moments when they stopped what they were doing and simply stared into space. Moments when they took a deep breath without understanding why. Moments when they felt overwhelmed by emotions they could not put into words. Their body was responding to what their heart had already recognized. Another sign of this emotional struggle appeared in their sleep. Rest has become difficult. Even when they manage to fall asleep, true peace remains elusive. Their thoughts continue moving beneath the surface. Their emotions continue searching for answers. Their subconscious continues revisiting memories. As a result, sleep becomes fragmented, interrupted, restless. They wake up unexpectedly. They find themselves thinking when they should be resting. And in those quiet hours, when the distractions of the day disappear, thoughts of you become louder. The silence leaves nowhere to hide. The darkness creates space for reflection, and reflection often brings them back to you. They remember moments they thought they had forgotten. They revisit conversations. They replay important memories. They imagine different outcomes, different choices, different possibilities. The mind naturally explores unfinished emotional stories, and for them, this story still feels unfinished. That is why their thoughts continue returning. That is why the connection remains present. That is why yesterday felt so intense. The emotional effort required to resist these feelings has become exhausting. It consumes energy, It drains motivation. It creates a fatigue that sleep alone cannot fix. This person may appear functional on the outside. They may continue working. They may continue socializing. They may continue fulfilling responsibilities. Yet internally, they feel depleted. Their emotional energy is being spent on a constant inner struggle. The struggle between acceptance and denial. The struggle between longing and fear. The struggle between moving forward and looking back. That conflict has a cost, and they are paying it every day. People around them may notice subtle changes, a quieter mood, less enthusiasm, more moments of distraction, a distant look in their eyes. The spark that once came naturally now requires effort, because part of their attention remains focused elsewhere. Part of their energy remains tied to unresolved emotions. Even ordinary experiences feel different. Food may seem less enjoyable. Activities may feel less satisfying. Conversations may feel less meaningful. It is not because the world has changed. It is because their emotional state has changed. When the heart carries a heavy burden, everything else can feel muted. Everything else can seem less vivid. Yesterday, this feeling became especially noticeable. Nothing seemed capable of filling the space they felt inside. Nothing seemed capable of providing lasting comfort. The distractions worked only temporarily. The emotions always returned. That is what happens when something important remains unresolved. The heart continues seeking understanding. The mind continues searching for answers. And the soul continues moving toward what feels meaningful. Even their senses seem affected. A familiar song catches their attention. A familiar scent awakens memories. A random face in a crowd briefly resembles yours. For a moment they think of you. For a moment they feel your presence. For a moment they forget the distance. Then reality returns, and with it comes another wave of longing. Yesterday, these moments happened more frequently than usual. The mind became highly sensitive to anything connected with you. Every reminder felt significant. Every memory felt vivid. Every emotional trigger seemed amplified. They found themselves turning their head unexpectedly, checking their phone more often, pausing in the middle of ordinary activities. Not because they planned to, but because something inside them remained focused on you. Their conscious mind may resist it. Their pride may resist it. Their fears may resist it. Yet something deeper continues pulling their attention in your direction. This is why their emotions feel so powerful right now. This is why their inner world feels unstable. This is why yesterday marked an important emotional turning point. The most interesting part of all this is that it does not require magic to understand. Human beings are deeply interconnected through memory, emotion, and experience. When someone leaves a profound mark on your life, that influence does not disappear overnight. It remains within the mind. It remains within the heart. It remains within the patterns that shape how we think and feel. This is something many great thinkers tried to understand. Among them was Carl Jung, who believed that human beings are connected through layers of the psyche that reach far beyond ordinary awareness. He understood that emotional experiences create bonds that continue influencing us long after physical separation occurs. And perhaps that is why this person's reaction has become so intense. They are no longer fighting only a memory. They are confronting a living emotional reality inside themselves. A reality that became impossible to ignore yesterday. A reality that continues unfolding today, and a reality that is leading them toward truths they have avoided for far too long. Carl Jung taught that the human mind is not an isolated island separated from all others. Instead, he believed that beneath our individual experiences, there exists a deeper layer of shared human experience. We can imagine it as an invisible network connecting people in ways that are not always obvious. On the surface, every person appears separate. Each person has their own life, their own thoughts, their own struggles, their own path. Yet beneath the visible world, emotional experiences often connect people in profound ways. Imagine two trees growing far apart from one another. Looking at them from above, they seem completely independent. Each stands alone, each occupies its own space. Yet beneath the ground, their roots spread outward. In some places, those roots touch, they exchange information, they respond to changes in their environment, and through those hidden connections, signals travel. In a similar way, meaningful emotional bonds can continue influencing people long after physical distance appears between them. This helps explain why certain people suddenly enter our thoughts without warning, why memories arrive unexpectedly, why emotions sometimes emerge with surprising intensity, why one person can seem unusually present in our awareness despite being physically absent. Jung explored these mysteries through a concept known as the collective unconscious. He believed that human beings share deep psychological patterns that connect us beyond ordinary awareness. Within this perspective, there is another fascinating idea, the idea of synchronicity. Synchronicity refers to meaningful coincidences that seem connected even when no obvious cause exists. These moments often feel too significant to dismiss completely. A memory appears at exactly the right moment. A song plays unexpectedly. A familiar name appears repeatedly. A person enters your thoughts just before you hear news about them. These experiences often leave people wondering whether something deeper is taking place. From a Jungian perspective, such moments are reflections of an underlying connection between inner experiences and outer events. They are reminders that life sometimes unfolds in ways that cannot be explained through simple logic alone. Yesterday may have felt like one of those moments. Perhaps memories surfaced unexpectedly. Perhaps emotions became stronger. Perhaps thoughts appeared with unusual persistence. At the same time, this person may have been experiencing their own emotional awakening. Their attention kept returning to you. Their thoughts kept circling back. Their emotions refused to remain buried. The connection remained alive in their mind, despite every effort to suppress it. What makes this situation so powerful is that emotional energy tends to accumulate over time. Every feeling that is avoided, every truth that remains unspoken, every memory that is pushed away, all of it gathers beneath the surface. Eventually, the pressure becomes too strong. Eventually, something forces it upward. Yesterday may have been one of those moments for them. A moment when years of emotional resistance became difficult to maintain. A moment when the walls protecting them began to weaken. A moment when they could no longer escape what they truly felt. Their logical mind may have tried to explain everything away. It may have searched for practical reasons. It may have attempted to regain control. Yet emotions rarely disappear simply because logic demands it. The heart follows its own rhythm. And yesterday that rhythm became impossible for them to ignore. According to Jung's understanding of human growth, these emotional crises often serve an important purpose. They force us to confront parts of ourselves we would rather avoid. They reveal fears. They expose insecurities. They uncover desires that have remained hidden. Most importantly, they push us toward greater self-awareness. This process is not comfortable. In fact, it is often painful. Growth rarely begins with certainty. It often begins with discomfort, with confusion, with questions, with emotional pressure that refuses to disappear. That is exactly where this person finds themselves now. They are being forced to look inward. They are being forced to acknowledge emotions they tried to deny. They are being forced to examine choices they once believed were correct. And as they do, they are discovering things about themselves they did not expect to find. One of those discoveries involves you, because sometimes another person becomes a mirror. Not a mirror that reflects physical appearance, a mirror that reflects the deeper parts of ourselves, our fears, our hopes, our vulnerabilities, our capacity to love, our fear of being loved, our fear of losing something meaningful. When someone reflects these hidden parts back to us, the experience can feel overwhelming. Many people run from that experience. Not because the connection lacks value, but because the connection reveals